Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. This Wednesday is an episode of Datsuning Done Right, brought to you by the folks over at Modified Racewear. Go check out the guys at Modified Racewear. Code 510BENDER for your special discount. It's also brought to you by the folks over at 510 Bend or Datsun Repair Shop, an all-around tool. Today's episode is also brought to you by Patrick Smith of High Impact Motorsports, Las Vegas, Nevada, along with 702 LV Rotson and Desert Datsuns. All of these sponsors will be part of Datsuns Around Bend last weekend in August 27th through the 29th. I think we got some promotionals out of the way. Let some folks gather around. Today's episode is one of those special episodes where we talk Datsun. Today we're not going to bore you with a bunch of technical jargon for Datsun though. Today's episode of Datsuning Done Right, the topic is going to be Dat's Unreal. So anyone that's ever owned a Datsun or any car in general, if you're kind of a car nut and you like used clapped out shit boxes or well-loved appropriated 90s Toyota Corollas, maybe you've got a thing for 80s Mazdas, I don't know, whatever your poison is. Maybe you're into old 50s Chevys. There's always the will it run, will it drive. You've got the Ratson lifestyle, you've got the roadkill lifestyle. Well, all of these, oh hi honey, all of these kind of are culminated together in this Datsuning Done Right. So when you're out Datsuning Done Right, we've all done some crazy things. One of the things in the Datsun community that folks love to ask and love to do, can I drive it home? So today's topic is going to be along those lines of Dat's Unreal. We're going to go story time today a little bit, and I'd like Patrick to go ahead and elaborate more on some of his stories and experiences and some of those Dat's Unreal experiences. So, story time for me, for the Dat's Unreal type of deal, was one of the ones I'm going to refer to here is Tina. Tina's been on a lot of wild rides. Tina started out a wild ride in the beginning. I didn't have a trailer. I didn't have a lot for help. The gentleman that I bought her from said she ran and drove. So I totally took for granted that she ran and drove. Okay, cool. Runs and drives, great. Throw some gas in it and get her home. Well, what I failed to realize, I was so excited to have a 510. I was so excited to find a 510 two-door in that condition. And side story here, she has some plates on her that say 5 and dime. When I was 16 years old, 17, 16, somewhere in there, I tried getting the license plates 5 and dime for my 1971 510 station wagon that I got from my dad. I went to the DMV and the lady was like, I just sold those plates to someone this week. Like, no freaking way. She's like, yes freaking way. I just sold 5 and dime. I just sold those plates this week. This would have been 1996, 1997, somewhere in there. And so I go look at Tina. Guy says she runs and drives. I show up, same color red, 510 two-door with plates, 5 and dime. When I finally peeled the tags off of those were the same plates on the car that took the plates that I wanted when I was 16 years old. So there's that cool story for that. I was under the impression I was just going to drive her home, no big deal. So I'm like, okay, well, let's go for a test drive. Sure, the guy says, we'll go for a test drive. Well, he made it run, that's for sure. It ran. She smoked a little bit. The engine in there, it clattered quite a bit. It wasn't the greatest engine. It was L20B. It smoked a bit. And so we take it for a little test drive. And he didn't want me to go far. He didn't want me to go far at all. And so it was enough of a test drive to be like, yep, it runs, it drives. I'm more looking about the condition of the car. I didn't care too much about the running and driving part. I just wanted to get it home. I finally had a 510. I had an opportunity. I had some money burning a hole in my pocket. So I bought her, cash outright. Like, sold, deal. I'll take it home now. Well, we only lived about 8 miles from where I purchased Tina, back on the backside of Bend by the Bend Airport. And that was a crazy ride. So he'd gotten the clutch to work enough, but obviously it hadn't had fluid in it in some time. So at some point, the line to the slave cylinder blew out, lost clutch pressure. So I'm having to power shift this thing, trying not to get in and out of gears too much, and rev matching it to get different gears. And so that starts off with a little bit of crazy. At some point, he maybe bled the brakes a little bit, or just whatever brakes were there, and that wasn't much either. So that in itself was a whole nother thing. Meanwhile, for some reason, the idle circuit had not wanted to do things, so I'm fumbling around trying to power shift this thing, rev match, and almost no brakes. So I'm like trying to do 4 feet on 3 pedals, just trying to keep the damn thing running, because the battery probably wasn't the awesomest either. And that was just the experience trying to get her home. Finally, the brakes pretty much gave out. I'm rev matching. I don't have any clutch. I have no brakes. Thankfully, we rolled into the neighborhood, downshifted her into second, and just revved the piss out of her all the way the rest of the way home. And the very last pull into the driveway, I pull on the e-brake cable as hard as I possibly could to keep it from rolling into the garage. I keep this close to the garage door. And the e-brake pretty much gave out. It literally kind of, after the car turned off and I finally breathed, it rolled just enough to just tap the garage door. So that was my white knuckle drive home with Tina. Since then, we've had a few other little white knuckle drives. These will get elaborated in bigger stories at some point down the road when we talk about this, but you know, it's really unreal what we've been through with Tina and not had to call a tow truck. Been able to do some roadside repairs, been close enough to where we needed to get to somewhere to have that whole Datsun community help out. There was a crazy drive one year where we'd met up with Dad in Williams, Arizona for the Route 66 JDM show. Went out to the Grand Canyon, and while we're at the Grand Canyon, there's a storm like no other that's coming through. I'll post some pictures later. And there's a storm coming through like no other, like I'd never seen before. Crazy, crazy, crazy storm. It's getting to be dark. It's like 5 o'clock at night. We decided to go after the show to run out to the Grand Canyon, come back. It's getting dark. The rain is coming down like you wouldn't believe. I hadn't seen rain like that in a long time coming from Portland. And that was crazy coming back from the Grand Canyon, and my alternator decides to start giving out. Yeah, alternator gives out. 1,000 miles from home, on my way back from the Grand Canyon. The other gentleman was having issues with his defroster not working that I was pretty much teamed with. So we're doing like, I don't know, 25 miles an hour in the absolute pouring rain, and my wipers and dimmers, my lights completely went dim and died. My wipers went out. We ended up hustling over to High Impact Motorsports and ended up going with an internally regulated alternator and built a jumper right there in the parking lot. So that was just one of the many wild rides that we've had with Tina, and that's unreal, man, as far as being able to like get somewhere and make it somewhere, and some of those Datsun things. So I'd love it if Patrick would tell one of his crazy tales and one of his crazy rides on something he maybe drove home that he shouldn't have. Yeah, that's just one of many. I'm gonna go ahead and save the other couple for another day. I'm about to hit the grocery store in some traffic, so yeah, that's what we got for Datsuning done right today. I could go on this one for another hour. This is a great topic, so we're gonna pick this topic up where we left off someday. And yeah, don't forget to head over to our sponsors: Modified Racewear, 510 Bender, High Impact Motorsports. Go check out everyone and everything, and do awesome things, drive awesome cars, be awesome people. Have an awesome day.